aesthetic function seems to at least predominate. I mean, these are not mutually exclusive categories, certainly. Allow yourself to fully absorb the work's physical qualities as I flip through these. Form, line, color, texture. This was an Anthony Tapias. This is Patrick Nagatani, who I'm very grateful to because he contributed the foreword to my book, Art Healing. He's, if you know, he's an incredible artist, photographer, and has lived in New Mexico for many years, teaching at the University of New Mexico photography department. This is actually called cow pie yellow cake, I believe. To many philosophers and art historians, what elevates a work to capital A art is its aesthetic quality. And you know, ask yourself how this work before you stimulates the senses. And I'm asking you to ask this implicitly without asking outright. I wouldn't want anything to interfere with your first impression of anything. You should really not be thinking necessarily about anything, thinking about history. Just be with the work and enjoy the experience of it, even if it doesn't feel good. And you certainly could later ask yourself, how does this work make me real in its presence, or does it? How does it make me experience something that's maybe very hard to describe otherwise? Do you feel the divine? Does it liberate a deep feeling? I don't know why I threw this in, but this is sort of interesting because you know what this is? This is each of the major Van Gogh paintings, the amount of each color in each painting. I thought that was cool. I usually go to boingboing.net. It's an interesting kind of techie blog, and this is on there. Anyway, so the symbolic function, ideas, images, symbols serve as hooks for emotional baggage, soutine. Meaning emerges as you associate the symbols with feelings, behaviors, patterns. Gleaning meaning from recognizable images differs, importantly, to absorbing feelings emanating from forms, colors, and textures. This seems to work better with art that is at least somewhat representational. You might say this is sort of a 21st century version of the Rorschach test, or its cousin, the thematic apperception test. But here, Rorschach, but here we employ the art not necessarily for diagnostic purposes, but for active projection onto the work. It begs you to read yourself into the work. This is from the thematic apperception test. I'm going to spare you my own projection onto this. Although afterwards, I'd be happy to talk about it. But anyway, this is about you, not me, right? So, okay, participatory. Here, either directly or indirectly, art pulls you into its world. You, the viewer, actively merge with the art's story, and you become, onward, as one dynamic living organism, as in this particular case. You become then an extension of the art. And there she is again. I don't know if you were here 2 years ago when I talked about exhibitionism and Marina Abramovic. She's somebody I really have a craving for, you might say. And but so this is active participation. This was Marina Abramovic at MoMA for a few months, sitting in a chair doing absolutely nothing from the beginning of the opening bell, I guess, to the end of the day. Every single day that MoMA in New York was open. I'm really at a kind of apex of self-love, and so as you'll see in a moment here. Needless to say, I had no idea when I gave that talk that only a few months later that she would be in New York doing this performance art. And so anyway, but the ultimate, I'll just show you this here. So yeah, you could sit with her for as long as you'd like. That's what I used to look like, I don't know, a year ago, whatever it was. It was windy. But anyway, the point here is that appearance takes a back seat now to engagement, the ultimate in taking part in the experience of others, a kind of hyper-empathy. The art pushes, forces, demands you to take part in the new, some new experience, novel ways of cracking the same old nut. Now, isn't that the grand essential essence of why people seek therapy? You exercise the new as you become art itself. And this is a Daniel Rosen. This is one of the most incredible things I've seen recently. It's a digitized image of you, but then it's fed into a computer, and small changes in blocks of wood are altered so the light hits it such that here you are staring at yourself, an image created with these movable wooden. It's unbelievable, unbelievable. But this is some kind of obviously participation in art and participatory art. Next, permeability. This function penetrates your psychological defense mechanisms. It becomes easier then to confront real and raw painful feelings and memories. This works on an even deeper level than the participatory function. Often this requires a shock to penetrate the cordoned off walls of protection when something like an emotional abscess has been walled off, cut off potentially from the light of day for years. And let me just explain this. This is Mauricio Cattelan, a sculpture called Him, H-I-M, Him. And the thing here, this is sort of a, let me tell you how this works. You walk into a gallery space, you see what looks like a child wearing a tweed sport coat, kneeling as if in prayer. So you enter the room, that's all that's in the room. And you see this child, looks very peaceful and meditative on his knees. And then there's no sign, there's no indication of what you should do next, but what you do, which all of us would do, is because it's separated from the back wall a significant amount, the curiouser of us will, of course, walk and look at what does the front face of this child look like. And then you're faced with the most horrible image that you'd ever see in your life. And there's just something about that kind of shock, that only this kind of incredible genius, visual art, can afford. And granted, shocking, it may not be for everyone. But again, you have to pick and choose and what. But I'm giving you kind of a few examples of shocking images to me. I can explain this later. Anyway, we'll just move on from that one. But there's something shocking happening there with the video camera in the background. This is an enormous baby. I'm sorry, you might want to stare at that for a minute. So, the sharp point of art pierces your vulnerable psyche, and like a virus, it infects you. It takes over your nuclear machinery, even. You have no choice but to let it make copies of itself within you. You are powerless. Let it be done to you without tensing up. Your psychic membrane is rendered now porous. Okay. Transformative is a different function, another function. And in the interest of dwindling time, I will flip through the slides.